Ronnie. How are you?
Good evening, Yasheka. How are we doing?
I am hanging in there. Welcome to another Thursday night of Ronnie and Yasheka's dating discussion. It has been a while. It has been a while. Listen,
It's been a minute.
it's
It
been
has been a minute.
3, 4, maybe. It has been a minute. It has been a minute. So, because it has been a while, let's remind everybody who we are. And I will start off first. Good evening, everyone. I am Yasheka Foster, affectionately known as the artist of dating, and I empower successful women over the age of 40 to date with intentions while finding the love of their lives and the tools to balance it all. And my handsome co-host this evening, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Based on where you're listening to, my name is Ronnie Walker. I am the master coach of exceptional dating, relationships, and sex, and we accomplish all of that through the space of self development. Thank you and welcome to everyone tuning in.
Well, Ronnie, listen, we have been, I guess we've been busy. I don't know. I don't know what we've been doing. I don't know what I've been doing. I don't know what the world has been doing, but a lot has happened in these last couple of weeks. And before we get started, if you guys are following us for the first time or tuning in to this segment of the Ronnie Yashika's dating discussions for the first time, thank you so much for being here. And make sure to go ahead and subscribe to the Ronnie Yashika's dating discussions on Facebook as well as on YouTube and Instagram. And if you are in the comments, be sure to allow StreamYard access to you so that when you make a comment, we'll know exactly who you are and we will be able to see the comments. And so, what are you drinking on tonight, Ronnie?
You know, I am having a stout. I won't say who it's by because we're working on a sponsorship with them, but it is a stout. I figured I'd have something a little with a little body this evening as opposed to a glass of Riesling or a Cabernet. I just said, let me do a stout this evening. And,
Okay, so
you
tell me
know,
what is a stout? I'm still a rookie. So what is a stout?
well, pretty much, I mean, there are those who won't call it a beer, but it's pretty much, if you're looking in the world of coffee, you have your light, your medium, and your dark roast. So, just for the sake of just giving you that analogy, look at your stout as more of a full bodied beer. The alcohol content can be very strong, and then, or, like a medium to heavy. However, the thing about stouts, you'll find that you'll have something with more like an oatmeal, because as we know that oatmeal is made from wheat and hops and all of that, as into the beer, and then you can have it more of a chocolatey feeling.
Okay.
And so this one is very, very popular and well known throughout. So it's not a what they more like call a craft, which could really get heavy, but pretty much just look at it as a dark, full-bodied beer.
Well, for me, I have come to the conclusion over this last year, I have turned into a full grown, full fledged adult. Okay, in so many ways. I've tried things. I did celebrate 420 yesterday. And so I've turned into a full blown adult in a lot of ways. And so today, for those who know, I'm retired military, and we have this thing that used to be called back in the day a class six. And so I think in the civilian sector, they call them ABC stores in some places
Still
or
do.
liquor stores or something like
Mhm.
that. I never even knew what an ABC store was until I moved here to Virginia because where I'm from, we call them the liquor store. Okay, they got different names, but they just a liquor store. Okay, but here in Virginia, they have ABC stores. Well, in the military, we have class six, what used to be referred to as class sixes, and now we have chapettes. And of course, I'll get into there's a reason why we call it class six. But anyway, um, with that being said, that's where you got all your liquors and your wines and your beers, right? And so today I was there because I was in the area and I had to go down that way in the Fort Lee area. So anyway, I was around that way and I decided to go inside of the class six. Next thing I know, I came out of there with 4 bottles of liquor. Now I went there to get gas. Okay, I went there to get gas, and because I had cash on me, I didn't want to use my card because whenever I have cash, I like to go ahead and try to spend my cash, and that way I can better monitor how I'm spending my money. And so I decided, I don't know how. And the thing about it, I didn't even go straight to the left to the register. I went to the right to the liquor. It was as if as soon as I walked in the door, my grown woman just automatically went to the right because I realized that I
Hmm.
didn't have, some stuff in the house. So anyway, I went around the circle to tell you that I'm drinking on what I purchased today, which is some Tito's, and
Okay.
I did
Okay.
not, and I don't know what you mix with Tito's. I really don't. I don't know what you mix with Tito's, but the only thing I had in the house was some orange juice, and I had some what is it? I forget the red stuff you put down in there to give it a little flavor. Garadinas or something, or Garagine or
Grenadine.
whatever it's called.
Grenadine.
Yeah,
Grenadine.
that's
Yeah.
it.
Hmm.
That's it.
Grenadine.
That's it. I'm still learning. Anyway, I didn't like, so I just put a little bit of red in there so it could look like I was being exotic. That's it. That's the only reason. And so, and I got this and this is a wine glass that I got today at the expo because, unbeknownst to me, I have a run on Saturday that I didn't even realize I had a run for. And while I was at the expo today picking up my packet, um, they was giving me these glasses away for this wine vineyard. So I was like, well, I might well get me one of these glasses. So anyway, this is what I'm drinking out of. So I figure I get started for this heat round or this lightning round that we got for me today. So now now that we are 7 minutes into it, let's get into today's discussion. So, as in the comments, like I said, if you guys read the description, simply put, you guys ask the questions, so we are providing answers. And so today, Ronnie has taken some of the things that's discussed with him from various people that contact him, that drop him DMs, that's in counseling with him, coaching with him, or whatever. And they have questions. And so sometimes they want to hear what other people's opinions are, whether it's from just someone else of the same gender or the opposite gender. So what we decided to do, or what Ronnie decided to do, was take some of those questions and shoot them at me. And y'all know that I have a whole bunch of opinions. And so, and let me put out a caveat. You guys know that anything we say is just from my opinion only. That's it, from my opinion. And my opinion is based on my triad, my experience, my education, and then my hood instinct. Okay. So that's how I get up with my opinions. All right. My experience, my education, and my hood instinct. All right, Ronnie. I am ready. I am ready.
Yeah.
I am ready.
This is from a series of people that reach out to me, and one thing I've noticed, especially since being online for years, it happens once, sometimes twice a year. Well, I run into someone, or if I'm at an event, networking otherwise, where pre-COVID, where someone will come up to me and really share with me some of what they've been, reading about me, or been following me at some time or another, and taking my advice. Now, not to pat myself on the back, but I do have a track record, and there are many people who've gone into great relationships and gotten themselves together. There are those who have strengthened their relationships. There are those that, with their decision, decided that they were no longer, they've chosen not to be apart, and has gone on to be married. And so, I'm grateful for those experiences. But with all of that being said, what I do get, especially since we've launched this platform, of how many people that are interested and really intrigued by Yashika. Well, outside of the fact that they always compliment her as to how great she looks, they really embrace, for lack of a better word, your realness, your directness, and you're going to lay it out. And it's funny how two people can say the very same thing, but the way one person says it, somehow they get it. And see, if there's one thing you learn in this space, is that you have to very quickly take your ego out of it. So you can hear something from someone and they say, Ron, I got it. This person said this. And I've been like, well, I've been saying this to you for the past 2,500 years. Yeah, but so it's really sometimes hearing it from another person they feel they can relate to, others it's timing. So when we're talking about this particular subject, it's really a part of your life that you've touched on at one point or another, Yashika, but they really wanted me to kind of dive deep into this and really have you get into the nitty gritty. So we're gonna try to stay within the time, but let me be clear. Just say what you need to say. No shortcuts. They says uncut, no filter, straight, no chaser. They just want to hear your Sheikah isms. So
Oh,
I am. I just want to know. Are you ready? Because yeah,
I
I'm gonna
am
start off
ready.
light.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay,
I'm
so
ready. I'm
here
ready.
here is the first question. Okay, so in terms of marriage, what was your thought? What was your inspiration to say that I want to be a married woman in your first marriage?
What was my inspiration to say that
Yes.
I
Other
was?
than the fact that someone asked you, this is okay. What was it saying that this is a journey that I want to go on in my life after being ex-military and all of this, or being in the military? What was it that says, okay, I want to be a wife. I want to be a wife.
Okay, so I believe just as most young girls, we all have that desire to have that, forever after, forever after, right? And so for me, as a young teenager, being out in the streets, and I don't mean like living in the streets, just being in the world, being in an environment that I was in the inner city. There was a lot of things that I seen, and relationships it was like, you know, I mean, I didn't understand a lot of things when it came to relationships. You know what I'm saying? I didn't realize that it wasn't about if you got the guy. It was about something deeper than that. And so what I quickly realized was I didn't want to have a lot of tick marks on my bedpost. And so for me to eliminate that, I knew that marriage would be the answer because I did not want to have a lot of tick marks on my bedpost. And for those of you who that's one of those old slang, those sayings, right? Tick marks on your bedpost. And what that pretty much means is I didn't want to have a lot of bodies, a lot of men, a lot of boys that I had been with sexually, trying to get the right one or trying to figure out which one was going to be with me or for me or whatever, right? Or which one was going to take me to the altar. And so for me, it was about being intentional, even at a young age, right? And so that's pretty much how my first husband and I got married was because I had already made up my mind that I was joining the military. And I was like, well, I'm leaving. And his thing was, well, you're not going to go. And I'm like, well, you're not going to stop me. And the only way that we can be together is if we be married. And so I guess he thought about it for a while and he was like, you know what? And then I think we talked about it some more. And then it kind of came out of that and the proposal came and all that kind of stuff. But it was one of those things where I guess at his age, because at the time he was about 22 going on 23, he realized that he didn't want to be without me. I realized that I didn't want to be without him. And also I knew that I didn't want to have a lot of tick marks on my bedpost. So that I
Okay.
think that was a pretty calm question. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what were well being in the military during that time? What was the difference what you felt being a military wife as it being to people that you know as this quote unquote civilian wife? What were the difference and how did you make that work for that time?
Well, he was a civilian, which means that even after I joined, he was still, a civilian. So he wasn't in the
Okay.
military.
Okay. So
And so with my first husband, that was difficult because people know from watching TV, the military is, especially back in the 90s, was predominantly a male service, right? Just like most of the services were, predominantly male. So if I go to work, I've been in situations where there were literally 40 people in one platoon and there were only two women in the whole platoon. You know what I mean? So you figure for him, he felt like that was too much. I was around too many men, and just as most men, he's thinking that at some point somebody's going to try you. Which he was correct. You know what I mean? They're going to try you, and so it was one of those things where I don't know if there wasn't enough trust in us, in him, or enough security in us or him or what, you know what I mean? But I couldn't control my environment. And at that time, that was very difficult because he had never been in the military. So he didn't understand that this came with the territory. You know what I mean? So it's like we had to take the good with the bad because the military was beneficial for both of us during that time because it provided us a better life in that moment, So, yeah.
what were Okay, so let me just make sure I get this correct. What were the lessons that you learned during the marriage?
The lessons that I learned during the first marriage is that
Hmm.
you can't change anyone. Um, People gonna be who they're gonna be, and if they change, it's gonna be because they choose to change. I was under the impression that if I loved him enough, he'd change because of the way that he was.
Okay.
There were things that were in the marriage that were, and, and I've talked about this before. There was a lot of abuse in the marriage, right? And whether it was toxic, it was toxic. The whole marriage was toxic, and it was one of those things where he and I both didn't know any better because we came from that. We saw that, so we didn't
Hmm.
know any better. It wasn't until I was in the military and the military told me that it was inappropriate for you and your spouse to fight, that I realized that, wait a minute, what you mean? Because I didn't know. Like, I honestly did not know that you're not supposed to fight your spouse. Like, I didn't. I thought that was like, if you remember, back in the 90s, and Living Color was out. And Living Color, they used to have this skit or this segment where the husband and wife would try to fight each other and kill each other, and then in the end they'll say, "And we still together."
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah, a little bit
So
of.
for me, although that was TV, a lot of that resonated in my life, what I seen in my environment. You know what I mean? Like, it was true. So I thought that that was normal. And so when I joined the military told me that if at any time I'm attacking my husband and it's not to get him off of me, that I could be subject to UCMJ, which is Uniform Code of Military Justice, which means ultimately I can lose rank and they take money, and so I'll be on extra duty and all this kind of craziness. And I'm like, well, what y'all mean? They was like, well, you're not supposed to fight your spouse. I was like, well, what you mean? Like, in my mind, you figure stuff out. You know what I'm saying? If you got some problems, you need to figure them out. You figure them out. However, you got to
Right,
figure them out.
right.
And it was at that moment that I realized that, hold up, they're telling me that this is not the way things are supposed to be. Maybe this isn't the way things are supposed to be. So as time progressed and I started to understand life a little bit better and I got older, then I learned a new way of life that I had not known. And I was glad for the military for that, because if I had not known, I don't understand. I mean, if I had not seen that, I don't know how long I would have stayed being thinking that that was the norm, because I thought it was the norm, you know. But to answer your original question about what I would take from the marriage, is, like I said, the whole idea of me thinking that I can change someone. Um, I don't think that when I got married at 18, I should have gotten married. I think I should have waited, because at 18, I didn't even know how to be a girlfriend, really, let alone a wife. And I'm not saying that at 30 you know any better. I'm not saying that, but there was a lot of things that I didn't understand, just like he didn't understand, and he was 22 at the time. We were still in that idea of trying to find ourselves, and so if we were willing to work it out and stick it out that away. Let's just pretend that those things were never occurring. But let's just take us as two young adults, and we were in a situation where we were willing to stick it out and understand that this is part of it. Then maybe we would have, went further with the marriage and made the marriage work. But because we had seen so much so many, relationships, if it don't work out, you just divorce. You don't work it out, because we didn't have the tools to work things out. We didn't have the tools to fight for something, in that way. It was almost like, well, let me get out of here before you get me, or let me do this before you do this to me. So it was about, the one who had the biggest, who achieved the most, or who had the biggest possessions at the end was the one who won. So let me walk away before you get me. Let me get you before you get
Hmm.
me. That was almost like the mentality, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so we both didn't have the tools to fight. So even if we took that part out of it, even if we took the toxicity out, we still didn't have the tools. You know what I mean? we still had good
Mhm.
intentions. We very much had good intentions because we knew that neither one of us wanted kids outside of wedlock. And we both knew that we wanted to be with each other. We both knew that we loved each other. We both knew that we wanted what we thought was a marriage, but we just didn't have the proper tools to achieve that, so
Okay. Okay. So now you went from that marriage to another marriage.
mhm.
What lessons did you, if any, did you take into your second marriage? Well, even before we get to that, because I wrote this down. Let me just ask you this question first. That they asked. Many people, after the first time, give up. That it's not for them, regardless of the reasons. It's just not for me. Did you have a mindset that you wanted to get married again, or did you decide that you were not going to get married again, but somehow this person came into your life and then you were inspired to be married again?
No, I never at any point in my life never thought that that's the last time I'm going to get married. Like, like, like for me, I always believe that we are sent through things for a reason, and one of my favorite points, if you love something, set it free. If it comes back, it's yours. If it doesn't, it never was. So what that means to me is not only if it was meant to be, it's gonna be, but also what that means to me is the opposite of that. In other words, if that was the person that was truly for me, then we would have been together. But apparently it wasn't, which means that the person that is still out there. And so I see that poem in both on both sides of it, that the half empty and the half full side of it. You understand what I'm saying? And so that's how I take it. So for me, I learned so much from both of those marriages. I learned so much. I would not trade anything that happened in my marriages for the world. And Lord knows I got my boys out of it. So that's like, I'm like queen for life because I gave two men their boys, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I would not take away from the marriage because, or I would not go back and say, I wish they had never happened because
Okay.
I know that I had more good times with both of them than I did bad times. You know what I mean? But there was a point where the bad times were too sad to overcome,
Hmm.
and so it became where, is this really worth it? You know what I mean? And so that was where we were, especially with the second marriage. The first marriage, we just didn't have the proper tools. And then the second marriage, it was more of, has too much hurt been done to really bounce back from it? It was almost like too much, it's almost like we need a clean slate. So if that's clean slate means divorcing and whatever, but we needed a clean slate. And we didn't know what that looked like. So for both of us, because he had been married prior as well, for both of us, that meant divorcing because we didn't know how to restart. You know what I mean? We didn't know how to restart. But we knew that a lot of hurt had been done, and we knew that neither one of us were going to let it go the way that we needed to in order to move forward. I think you're paused or something or on mute.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're really tuning in and really fine tuning your hearing to this because Yashika said something that I hear sometimes, but never enough with relationships and marriage that doesn't work out. And I've said this so many times, and I've read about this. Look, she said she had the good times and the bad times, whereas many people focus on the bad times as the reason. And I've always said, listen to me. Obviously, there was a reason you got with this person, regardless of how it turned out. But if you're going to blame them for the bad, give them credit for the good times you had with them as well. Trust me, that will help you in your healing. So I really hope many of you got that. For those of you who didn't, I hope maybe you go in your replay and listen to that because I truly believe that's key in your growth in terms of yourself and moving forward in the space of dating to the future. Now, Yashika, was there, let's see, were there lessons that you took from your, and people say it's usually obvious, but some people don't. Were there things and lessons that you took from your first marriage into your second marriage to help you avoid some of the pitfalls?
Absolutely,
Okay, and
absolutely.
what were they?
You know, there were, and this is crazy, but believe it or not, part of me being a woman came from my first marriage because I was a young girl. So there were just certain things that I didn't know that I needed to focus on, and I remember specifically, right? It's crazy the things you remember, but I remember when I met my first husband. He would always say something of he had a thing for toes, right? He had a thing for, he wasn't into toes like whatever, but he had a thing for pretty feet. And so he would tell me to make sure that my toenails always stayed done. And so prior to that, I was, I was a city girl, so it was like, okay, nobody could see my toes because I'm in shoes or whatever. And, we wasn't out here in heels back then. You know what I mean? It was about high tops and slouch socks or whatever. So we wasn't going to the nail salons on the corner back in the 90s like we are today. And so I just remember that being one of the things that I made sure I did in my second marriage because I knew that that was something that men liked. So when it came to some of the things that I grew into as a woman, I learned it from my first husband because he was raised around women. He has two older sisters, and of course, and his mom. And so there was things that women did, um, um, women did that he saw from his mom or he learned from his mom. That because my mother was young and I didn't have any sisters, maybe I didn't know. And so and his sisters were older than me. And so there were things that he saw them do, and he said this to me, and it was never anything from a malicious place. It was just almost like, well, do you do this? Do you, it was through conversation or whatever. And so there were things that we would talk about, and I would be like, oh, okay, well, I didn't know I had to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I didn't. And so there were a few things that I learned from him when it came to me being a woman. And so my second husband benefited from those things in a lot of ways. Even when it came to my pajamas that I wore to bed. You know what I mean? I was one of those ladies, those girls that I was never showed, what I supposed to wear to bed because I didn't know. I had never seen that before. And so I remember my first husband saying something to me about nightgowns, right? The silky spaghetti strap nightgowns. And because again, I'm a young girl, I'm a teenager. This was before the time of internet and face, the social media or whatever. So we had to just go off what grandma and them told us or whatever. And so I didn't know. And so it was one of those things with my second husband. That's all I did. Like I only went to bed in sexy nightgowns for 15 years that we was together. I tried to do it even when I was pregnant until I could no longer fit anything anymore. You know what I mean? So it was one of those things where he benefited from that. So there was a lot of things that as I matured into a woman that I learned from my first husband, and my second husband benefited from. You on mute? You on mute?
Okay, yes. Um, okay, the 15 years, ladies. I hope you're writing some things down. A is that you can learn from your husband, and B, sexy nightwear is always a plus. So
And polished toes and
yeah,
polished
and I was gonna just say in the
and
toes,
polished toes.
and there's something that I learned too, and I will probably say in the last maybe 10 years of how many men really are into feet, you
Yeah,
know, and I say this as ladies, and how they'll fight over the bonnet,
yeah,
and wearing this out. I said, trust me, ladies, men are looking at this. Men
yeah,
are looking at this. So,
yeah.
this whole quote unquote rebellion, I'm gonna do what I want to do when I want to do, and yet meanwhile, where they at? Well, you probably walk past them in that damn ugly ass bonnet, but it is. And then on top of that, I'm telling you, he's looking at your toes. He is looking at your toes, whether he's in the feet or not. I'm telling you, he's looking at your toes. And it's the same thing as I've learned from women. Women look at a man from the shoes up. So, men, please keep your shoes shined and don't be afraid to spend money on a nice pair of shoes. Okay, so
And let,
again,
and let
go
me
ahead. I'm
say
sorry.
this about those, let me say this about those bonnets. And people gonna be in my inbox, but I don't care. They're for the bedroom only. So
Hmm.
once you get up and you start your day, in my opinion, take them off. When it's if you, like you go in there, you get a cup of coffee, that's different. But once you are out of the bedroom and you're starting your day, the bonnet comes off. Now, if you're once you get in the shower or whatever, put a shower cap on, put the bonnet on, whatever. But in my opinion, other words, we have I see it sometimes where we will walk around the house all day in the bonnet because we're trying to preserve a hairstyle.
Hmm.
And the thing about it is that we're not preserving our hairstyle because what are we doing that we need to preserve it? Like we're not out here, jumping up and down. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So because he's looking. You know what I mean? And this is for the ones that have the men in the house. Now, if you ain't got a man in the house, girl, do what you want to do. But I know that that's one of the things that men talk about. They don't
They
want
do.
they don't want to look. It's
They
12
do.
o'clock, 1 o'clock, and you still got this bonnet in your on. Like it and you people say, well, she. Listen, it's because men are visual people, and it's not about them, but it's just like I don't want to look over at my man and he looking like he ain't had no haircut in weeks and
Exactly.
I'm like, Joe, go get
Exactly.
your haircut or something. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Exactly.
because we will tell them that and expect their feelings not to be hurt. But if they say something to us about the bonnet, now we want to all of a sudden comfort them because we feel like they coming for our black woman hair. That's not
Exactly.
that's not the case. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
They want us to look good just like we want them to look good. Because I would tell a joke in a minute. Um, you going to the barber? I get
Yeah.
on my sons like that. You going to the barber?
Yep. Yep.
In fact, I asked my sons, you need me to shape up your eyebrows down here because your eyebrows
Hmm.
are coming down here over your eye.
That's
Because I
true.
need them to be particular, like, keep yourself groomed up a little bit.
Right.
But anyway,
Right.
okay, I'm off subject.
No, it's actually on subject because we're talking in the space of marriage, and whether it went on to be 50 years or not, I still believe there are lessons to learn, and it goes back to the good times and the bad times. And I say this all the time to men. I says, brothers, before you sit up here critiquing, make sure that mustache is trimmed, the eyebrows is looking there. I says, I can't tell you how many women will sit here and complain about a man wearing the same damn briefs that look like they're just whatever. Brothers, I know they can be comfortable, you had them, whatever. I says, but just like how you want her to get up looking like she just came in from wherever, from work and looking fresh and whatever, she wants to see her man in a certain way too. So make sure that
Absolutely.
hair is trimmed. Hell, make sure your toes are not looking dirty and your fingernails. I mean, there's so many things aesthetically. And again, this is all part of the effort. And if you have a
'Cause
routine, it's not that big a deal. So, gentlemen, I hope you take notes of that. Ladies, I hope you take notes of that as well. So, moving on, Yashika, they want to know. Okay, so now the second one. The second one, you're no longer married.
mhm,
Have you given up on marriage?
absolutely not.
And why
Absolutely.
not? And there's a, and if not, why not?
Well, first of all, um, okay, let me back up. It's been 2010 was my second divorce. So I've been single now for 12 years. Well, almost 12 years. And so, because remember, I only believe there's two statuses: single and divorced. I mean, excuse me, single and married, because dating is fluid. So, um, and I say dating is fluid is because I know people who was in long-term relationships with people. I'm talking about years together, more than two, and come to find out that person was in a simultaneous relationship with another person, and they get up and get married to somebody else, and they never even know about it until that person comes to them and say, hey, Jane, I need to tell you that I got married last weekend. So until you actually tie the knot and sign them papers, dating is fluid. And I'm telling you, and the thing about it is that I know that has happened I know about those situations happening more than once. And that's why I'm like, listen, I know people who have went to the altar, got to the altar and said, I can't do this. You know what I mean? So anyway, so that's why I say dating is fluid. And I like to always explain why I say dating is fluid, because people's like, well, if you're not gonna be dating, I mean, if you're not gonna, if you don't think, if you think dating is fluid, then how's somebody gonna marry you? I didn't say I don't choose to be monogamous in a relationship. There's a difference. You know what I mean? Being fluid means that dating come and goes. I didn't say I'm choosing to be promiscuous, or I didn't say I'm not going to be monogamous when I'm with somebody. All I'm saying is dating is fluid, and please don't confuse the two, because people like to run it together and create this whole scenario in their head.
Many
I
people do. Yes, many people
exactly.
do.
So dating is fluid, but you choose monogamy. So that's clear as daylight. Okay. Anyway, um, so I have not given up on marriage, because in the very beginning, my marriages kind of overlapped each other, and I say that because um,
Yes, please clarify that, because I know people are gonna be like, "Well, Ron, what does she mean?" So,
no, no,
go
no, no,
ahead.
they
Mhm.
overlapped each other. They overlapped each other. In other words, I wasn't divorced from my first husband. We weren't like, we were legally separated, like paperwork signed legally. We were legally separated, but we were not divorced, because he kept on not wanting to sign the divorce papers. However, even still, I had already started dating my second husband, right? We were just dating, doing what, because remind you, we're still, I'm still at this point. Let's see, let me get my years right. But when my first husband and I split up, when we separated, I was um, 23, maybe 23, 23, 23, 24 when we separated. Um, yeah, 24 when we separated. So 24 when we separated from him. So still relatively young. And so when we separated, I a little after that met my second husband. We started. We were just friends. Like, we were just hanging out, having a good time. We were friends. And then I ended up going to getting stationed, from Europe to the States. I got stationed in the States. He ended up getting assigned to the States. Then the relationship really started to pick up speed. And so once it started to pick up speed, it became a full blown relationship. Now, prior to that, a lot of things did happen, which I won't get into, here, but there were things that did happen. But again, it could have been cut off at any point. But we never took it like it was going to be final, or there was any seriousness to it, because we were still separated by countries. And then what we knew was that he was going to go to the state of New York while I was in the state of Texas. And so we kind of figured, well, you know what? We're having fun. We're both coming out of marriages. And so we're just having fun. It is what it is. Well, he ended up not going to New York, but I did go to Texas, and he ended up coming to Texas. And so then it was like, oh, wow. Okay, well, maybe maybe we can see what we got going on here. And so it kind of, you know, the relationship kind of went from there. And so we ended up dating for 4 years or so, and then we got married in 2000. We started dating in 96 and got married in 2000. We started dating in, 96. Yeah, we started dating in 96 and got married in 2000, something like that. And and then we got divorced in 2010. So we were together, but we got divorced in 2010, but we still dated until 2012 almost. And so we were together about 15 years. So for me, I didn't give up on marriage, because I felt that because I went from one marriage to another, I didn't really get to know who Yasheka was, because the Yasheka that I knew as a single woman was 17 years old, right? And that's the age I was when I met my first husband, right? So here I was going from a relationship with one man, dating another man, and then marrying him 4 years later. So I never really got to be by myself to understand myself, right? To know who I was outside of being with somebody else. And so I needed to find me. I needed to find out what I needed for me to be okay, right? I needed to know if I really am okay with not cooking dinner every day, or I needed to know if I'm okay with, just not doing certain things. You know what I mean? I needed to know if I was okay with those things because I was in positions since I was 17 where I felt like I had to do those things. And so I was always being this person to everybody. And like one of the things I used to always say to my family is that I'm not the best at anything, but I try my best at everything. In other words, I can't tell you that I'm a 100% present mom. I can't tell you that I'm the best wife in the world. I can't tell you that I'm the best doggone cooker in the world or housekeeper in the world or whatever. But dang it, I try my best at it. You understand what I'm saying? And so that's all you can expect of me because I'm being everything to everybody. And so I'm at work, and I'm thinking about if I took out anything for them to eat at dinner time. And I had to ask my husband one time, do you think about stuff like that? And he like, no. I said, see what I'm talking about? You know what I mean? Like you come home from work, you come straight from home. All you think about is what you're going to do when you get home, as far as if you're going to watch ESPN or if you're going to take a nap. That's what you think about on your way home. Me, on the other hand, I'm thinking about when I get home, I got to make sure these kids do their homework. I got to make sure I cook dinner. Did I take out any chicken? Did they got to move to school tomorrow? Dang, I need to make sure I go to the store and get like, that's what I'm thinking about. So for me, I needed to know who I was outside of those things. Now, granted, I'm still a mom, but there's another level to me as a wife and a mom. You know what I mean? And so I needed to go through that. I needed to know who I was. And so when I came out of those relationships, even after my second husband and I no longer dealt with each other after 2012, 2013, I just was like, I need to find Yasheka. I need to know, I need to understand who I am. Because I never really went through the process of dating to know what I wanted, what I didn't want. I just went with what I felt was the right thing to do. Like, okay, this guy, it was this with him. My first husband was this. My second husband was that. So I'm with him for this reason. I'm with him with this reason. So it was like so much that I had not figured out. And so I knew that whatever I do on my third marriage or fourth marriage or whatever, I didn't care whatever it was. I was not going to stop not trying to do it better because I know that whatever I do, it's just getting me to what is meant for me. You know what I mean? And so the way I see it is no matter how many times it take for me to get to that forever person, because I don't know, it might be my third marriage, it might be my 10th marriage. I might be like Elizabeth Taylor. I don't know. But what I do know is that some people go this whole life and never have anybody that marries them. So I remember in the beginning, I thought about that, right? I was like, I'm divorced twice. What are people going to think about me? And then I have a friend that I've been knowing her since she was 19, I was 18. She's been married 4 times. And I thought about it. And I said, girl, do you understand how blessed you must be for you to get 4 people that care that much about you, that they're willing to take a chance on you and love you and say that they're going to try to make the best of this life with you? So there ain't no shame in that, because some people can't get that from people, period. So for me, that was what I saw it as. I saw it as, I don't give a shit about what nobody thoughts. So if it takes me 4 times or 10 times, eventually it's going to get to where I needed to be at. Because in the end of the day, I know that I can, because either my husbands, either one of my ex-husbands, I can call them right now and get anything I want from them. Now, respectful to their wives now. You understand what I'm saying? Respectful to their wives. I'm not talking about like that. But their wives know who I am. And those men have such positive things to say about me. Those men both asked me to remarry them several times. And I'm not tooting my horn by no means. What I'm saying is that I know that I come with great intentions. I know that I come with the things that people need or I've done the work. So therefore, I will keep on making sure that what's meant for me, I will get it. And that's it. That's it. And that's about as deep as I can get it. You're muted, babe.
I'm going to ask this one last question here,
But
and
was that enough for you? Was that enough? Was that enough?
listen. I already know what phone's going to look like tomorrow in the emails tomorrow. I already know. Just me, I already know it's coming. What would you tell one woman who has given up on marriage, and two, what would you tell from your lessons in your life in your journey a woman who was looking to get married? Would you tell these women? What would you tell each of these women? So let's start with the woman who has given up on marriage.
A woman who has given up on marriage.
Yes. Either fearful again or for the first time, doesn't believe it's worthy, is worth the hassle. What would you tell her from someone who's been married twice?
So, in my opinion, that's a that's a double that's a that's one of those questions that has two sides to it, right? And here's why.
Okay.
I don't feel like I need to change somebody's mind, right? If they really feel that for whatever reason, marriage is not an option for them. Because for some people, marriage is not. Some people feel that they just want to have a life partner. They just want a roommate. They just want whatever, right? Because I don't want people to believe that marriage is the one all be all in any relationship. Like if you're not married, then you're not validated. Because some people believe that. Some people believe, well, why nobody want to marry me? You know what I mean? Like no, like cut it out. Like that's not the, everybody has their own journey. You figure out what's your journey, what do you want to do in this life? And if marriage isn't something you want to do, then what is it that you want to do? And whatever it is you want to do, then do that. And if you want to just a fishing buddy on the weekends, then damn it, get your fishing buddy on weekends. And that's it. You know what I mean? You don't have to, everybody, you understand what I'm saying? Everybody has, so that's that. And you know how I am, I'm passionate about certain things. So that's that, right? Now, the other part of that is, so with that being said, if I know from talking to her with my discernment that it's not that she's truly have given up on marriage, it's just that she's talking from a place of hurt, then that's when I want to talk to her and let her know the things that she sees that she doesn't see that I see for her, right? The things that I see that she doesn't see, the things that I see for her. Because a lot of times when people make that decision, they are speaking from a place of hurt. So a place of hurt means that there is some healing that needs to be done. There is some digging that needs to be done, some roots that need to be pulled. Because not only does it affect your relationship, but you have no idea that stuff is affecting you in other areas of your life as well. So if you don't get to the root of it, you're not going to be able to flourish in all things. Although it may look like it, maybe be your bank account soaring, so you think that's it. It might be, your skin is glowing, so you think that's it. You know what I mean? It may be these things that you be like, okay, well, I'm good because my money is banking, my money is good. But listen, if you're still, the things that make you cry over here, whenever you're talking about it and you're still crying, that means you're still not healed in those places. Right? I'm not talking about crying from a place of passion. I'm talking about crying from a place of hurt when you talk about it. That means that you're still not healed. And believe me when I tell you that these places that's unhealed is affecting the other areas of your life. So I need her to figure out the root of it and dig that root up, no matter how much it hurts. Dig it up so you can get to the bottom of it so that you can live a full circle life. Not just prosper in one area, but prosper all around. And once you prosper all around, then you'll realize what it is you truly want. And before you know it, if it's marriage that's intended for you, it's going to be almost like he dropped from the sky. You're going to be like, where the heck he come from? You mean to tell me? And it's not that he dropped from the sky. It's just that you're seeing life from a different set of lens now, because you're not seeing it through all that clouded hurt anymore, right? Because that hurt makes things clouded. It looks like this. So you're trying to look through the eyes and stuff, and you're trying to look and you're trying to see, but no, that's you trying to look through hurt and pain. But when you get rid of all that stuff, you be like, oh my God, you mean tell me you've been here the whole time? And that's what goes on with people, right? And you be like, dang. And so before you know it, these people come in your life, so then you can figure it out. So to answer your question, that's what I would need to figure out. I would need to figure out, is her saying that she doesn't want to get married is truly who she is, or is it or she's speaking from a place of hurt? And only how I would know that is if I have a conversation with her. But if she believes that she's done the work and she's healed and whole, and she feels though marriage is not for her, then marriage is not for her.
Good. That's good. Listen, you did answer the question quite intentionally, and oh goodness, again, now, ladies and gentlemen, some gentlemen, you asked for this, so I hope you are taking notes. And of course, let me just do a little plug here to go to datingdiscussions.com, and from there on that website, you can learn a little bit more about Yasheka, because this is about her tonight. This is all about her, not no more so about me, but about her. That if you feel that this is a space that you feel she can speak to you in your current situation and potential future situation, then reach out to her, send an email, and set up a consultation with her and some coaching. Because I know there's a lot of great things that you've heard from her thus far, and I'm sure she has more for you in your situation. So, what would you tell the woman that is still positive about marriage? What would you suggest that she discuss as you're getting closer to the space of wanting to be married?
Okay. So
During the dating phase, what would you want to make sure that she covers?
wait a minute, she's still positive about marriage. Let me make
Right,
sure that's right, because it's like a three-part question. She's still positive about marriage. Okay.
right. She's
Okay.
dating,
She's dating.
but she wants to make sure what are the best ways to communicate, um, of her intentions of wanting to be married. How does she communicate that?
She asks him, well, either you're talking about it with him, or you ask him his thing. So for example, I've met guys um during dating that will tell me, like I met one guy particularly who we were talking, and I asked him, I said, do you ever plan on getting married? And he says, I never really thought much about it. I was like, well, okay, take care of yourself. You know, what I'm saying? It's fun, That was fun, because I already know I'm not in the business, like I said before, of changing nobody. You understand what I'm saying? So if you in your 40s and you ain't never really thought much about it, I ain't got time to be trying to change your mind.
Not to cut you off, fellas. I hope you got that. I'm telling you, she's talking to the men as well. So good. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, real talk, real talk. And so to answer your question, it wasn't that I came out and told him. It was he and I were talking, and I just asked the question. I didn't give a crap, because we're in our 40s. I ain't got time to beat around no bush. We were talking about something, and I asked him. I said, well, because I asked him about his last relationship or something, and he says, well, I think that she wanted to, she wanted to get married, and he didn't. And I think the relationship was like 4 or 5 years ago, his serious relationship. And so I asked him. I said, well, did she have any kids? And he was like, no. And so I'm like, and you ain't got no kids? He was like, no. I was like, and you didn't want to marry her? Like, what am I missing here? Like, you successful, she's successful, she don't have any kids, like, what am I missing? You know what I'm saying? Like, why wouldn't you, like, I was like, did you like her? He was like, she was straight. Well, why wouldn't you marry? Like, what was, I'm trying to figure out what's wrong. You know what I mean? Because I'm at the point now where everybody I date is oh my God, it's so awful, because I can't help but I go from being somebody on a date with somebody to about somebody analyzing people. I'll be like, now tell me about this date again. And it's just awful. It's awful. It's awful. Okay, but that's another story, because they be like, hold up. Like, what are you doing? Interviewing me? I'll be like, no, but I got to hear this whole story. I got to hear this story. Like, but I'm sorry. I digress. And that's why I hate it. That's why I hate telling people what I do. I'm at the point now where I be like, you know what? I don't do nothing. I'm just the bum. I sit at home. I'm just the retiree. I'll be like,
Oh
this is
boy.
hard. But anyway, with that being said, I forgot the questions.
I believe in your way, in your your Shikaisms, you answered it. You truly answered it. In other words, what I got from this is that it doesn't have to be as
Out direct.
interviewers as
Yeah,
possible. Yeah,
yeah,
it's just about, you can just find out by the way, and the answer will present itself. Because,
right.
and see what she's showing here, and again, I'm going to speak to the gentleman. She's showing a man or men who are not intentional. And any man who's listening to me, I says, I'm clear on intentions. I said, brother, you need to make it very clear. As a matter of fact, I speak to you want to make yourself known of your intentions before she even has to ask. Now we can debate whether he's sincere about it or not, and I'm sure if she's on her game and she know who she is, she's gonna find out whether you full of you know what or not. But make it known. I'm dating with intention of this.
Mhm.
I'm dating with intention on that. But don't let it get too far where she has to ask.
Right.
So I'm just gonna take this away from the women for now. Like, man, this is again where I'm always talking about men taking the lead, men taking the lead, men taking the lead, making sure that you say who you are, what you're about, and where you want this to go,
Yeah.
straight up front.
Mhm.
So with that being said, Yashika, I believe, as I'm looking here, you've answered everything here, and we did it within 3 minutes of the time. And on behalf of all of those that reached in, and I get it. Listen, for those of you all scaredy cats, I know sometimes you don't want people in your business and you don't want to be in line. And it's around my job. People know my job. People trying to know it, and they're gonna figure out why I'm asking this question. So they didn't want to get in here live because I wanted to include them in so they can ask you directly. So I had to take it upon myself with a notepad and pen to put this. So on behalf of them, I want to thank you for your candidness, your directness, and your overall pleasantness in this. Because what I find too often is too many of these discussions are really coming from a bitter space. Be it the men or be it the women. And so when we can have um, these type of conversations and how someone can talk about their past, regardless of how it turned out, and focus on the lessons learned and giving credit to them and the good times as well. So I commend you for that. And this is what I want more women to start speaking on because it's just far too much animosity between the men and women right now. And I do believe, and I'm going to say this as well, I do believe there's still some hurt people out there, but I do believe there's some healed people out there, men and women, and they are looking for someone they still believe and they happily ever after. And again, like Yashika said, if you feel that that is not part of your journey, then that's fine too. But still, that does not negate the work you need to do on yourself as a person because Yashika has learned, she has grown, and she has taught others with her experience. And I believe that she has taught many of you here who've asked the questions and for those of you who will watch it. So again, let me emphasize you go to datingdiscussions.com and you'll see the website and you can reach out to her. Don't forget our YouTube page, uh, Ronnie and Yasheka, as well as the Instagram. So, Yasheka, again, thank you for your time, again, and all that you have, and we wish you well. And, listen, I know they're going to have nothing but compliments to say on this thing. So, again, I'm sure this won't be the last one, but thank you for that time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And keep the questions coming. This is always good because I love it gives me to the opportunity to understand, like, talk out those things because, of course, talking to the therapist and all that or whatever is a little different, or me spreading those things out or analyzing them myself is a little different. But it's not often that I get to. And then when you're talking to people, whether it's in a session or whatever, you want to be a little bit more polished about what you say. So on this, I'm able to just say what I need to say in order to make sure the message is conveyed. So it gives me a little bit more freedom. Of course, you'll never get the live and in person Yashika here. the halfway bougie and halfway hood. You never get that. I was watching my girl Lisa Ray. I'm gonna say this right quick, and then I'm gonna go. Listen, I've been told many years that people will tell me that she and I resemble each other, and it's the forehead, right? So yesterday I was watching her on her show with the other ladies, and it was the funniest thing because this girl, now you guys know I'm from Detroit, she's from Chicago, and people sometimes usually get those two, intermixed, right? And so even I'm scared to go to Chicago. Okay, I'm just gonna keep 100 because my second ex was kind of raised in Chicago, has half his life. But it was so funny that her mannerism, literally, she would be talking like real, finger in the air. Then all of a sudden she'll start going, and then she remember that she live. And then the other ladies would be like, Lisa Ray, we appreciate you taming it. We appreciate you. Because what they were saying is that we know that if these cameras wasn't here, you go in. And it was just so funny how she was going up and down, up and down, up and down. And it just made me think about our conversations, Ronnie. And I said, and then I thought, reflected back when people would tell me that, that I reminded them of her. And I thought about that. And I said, I understand why. Because she is just like literally she go up and down, and you can tell that she contains her dragons really really well on TV. And so I try to what is it, manifest my inner her when I'm here, and I try to tame it down just a little bit.
Listen, no, we listen. As time goes on, I'm sure all of that will present itself. It is so funny because, many people tend to treat me more like Carlton from the Fresh Prince. I'm like, no, you don't know, you don't know my background. You really don't know my background. Now, I was never in them streets like that. But born in Harlem and raised in Harlem, South Bronx, I get it. So
No,
I'm
I
sure
was
at some point,
in them
I,
streets like
I'm,
that.
I'm sure at
I
some
was
point
in
as it goes on, there's going to be some conversations. You're gonna be like, wait a minute, I know Ronnie was like that. Wait a minute, I know Yashika was
it.
like that.
I'm telling you, I'm like, they about to catch me live and in color without no cameras, without no
So,
recording. I don't need nobody telling me what I said back in 2022. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
exactly.
They be like, we remember when you wasn't this. I'll be like, you can't
And
fault
this
me
is what
when
it's
I was
about.
younger.
And this is where
So
it is.
yeah. So okay, Ronnie. Well, this has been nice as always. I love this, and you guys, you can catch us again here next Thursday, or catch Ronnie for Men's Talk Mondays on YouTube, and also me on Wednesdays, or for Women Talk Wednesdays on YouTube as well as Facebook. Make sure to like and subscribe on all things Ronnie and Yasheka's dating discussions. And you guys have a nice evening. And don't forget to hashtag replay if you catch us on a replay. We'll catch you guys on the next live. Bye.
Take
Hello.
care, everybody. Thank you again, Yashika.